Hi everyone. So today I wanted to start with the theme of physical appearance. So it was the most abundant out of all the themes in the female ads, as it was 46.6%. The first ad that I kind of wanted to draw attention to was this one on the top, specifically the words show more skin. So to me, this essentially means that in order to feel beautiful or to feel sexy, you have to reveal your body, or in other words, to gain that social validation of what it is to be feminine. In this ad below right here with the lipsticks, it does include the words luscious and perfect. And then both of these are insinuating that to be beautiful is to be young, as well as to have no flaws. And then in these next three ads, they're mostly surrounding cleanliness, and they frequently use the phrase odor free. And then this one in particular uses the word water based. Usually, when I hear the word water, that signifies purity in a sense. And just because they all use the phrase odor free, that just tells us that women are not allowed to display natural bodily functions such as sweating. And then if a smell were to come from a woman, then we would be judged and labeled as unclean. And I wanted to make the point that this is not a common, standard, and for men, as sweating or having like a certain smell usually signifies that, you're a hard worker. And then in this particular ad as well, it does use the word pre-cleanse. Pre-cleanse is almost exclusively used in women's ads. And this essentially reflects just the society's expectations for women's grooming. And then this one in particular with the ice cream, I wanted to say for last, just because it was the most surprising. So the phrase 100% indulgent is justified by the fact that the product is made mini. So again, this is suggesting that women should maintain a certain body size or type. This also means that when you want to enjoy comfort foods, that they should only be eaten in small portions. And that it's also messaging that being non-guilty essentially reinforces, or the food being non-guilty because it's mini, it I feel like it does contribute to restrictive eating habits and disorders. So moving on to let me clear the screen. Moving on to female fragility. It's on the bottom right here. The first ad that I wanted to go over was this Nationwide ad with the dog. So some of the words that they used are what ifs or worried, as well as the word away. So the Nationwide ad does use anxiety-based marketing. And with this emotional language, it does suggest that, or it implies that women are, incapable of handling situations on their own, and they are in need of someone else to help, to step in, or to manage them. And then for this ad right here with the older woman, it's not in the photo, but within the writing that was on the bottom, it did say in bold, "Take control." So once again, the phrase implies that women need direction, and then they constantly require guidance, in order to make decisions and take that action to do something. And then for the last photo, for this one here, it's going to be essentially just about a cleaning eraser. So I'm pretty sure, as you guys can see, it says without the elbow grease. So I would say that this symbolizes fragility, and that it also implies that domestic work has become easier and then more enjoyable. And then also, what I thought was interesting about this ad is that it only has reviews from women. So I thought that was interesting just because this essentially says that this is only for women, or this is a women's product, just because of the idea that, domestic work and labor and chores inside the home are meant to be done or performed by women. And then the last theme that I'm going to be going over for the women's ads is going to be Goffman's licensed withdrawal. So this ad is about, just a sleeping mattress. The picture is a little bit small, but there is a woman that's right behind this man. So the woman is hidden, and she's even blurred, so that conceals or makes her less visible even more. So the messaging suggests that a good sleep is more of a necessity for men, or for this man in particular. And I'm assuming so because they're depicted as doing more work or just handling jobs that are more, labor intense or so on and so forth, and that they are more deserving of it. And then a big thing with Goffman's license withdrawal, they had mentioned that it essentially means that when they're covered or essentially unseen in the ad, so lesser than. So moving on to the men's ads, I'm going to first cover the performance standard, and it appeared 26.6%. These as well appeared 26.6%, so they all share that in common in terms of how frequent they were. So, so the hummus ad is what I'm going to be talking about first. So the word goals, the word goals appear twice. And then on the bottom right here, it says achieved. So this is insinuating that men must be driven and should be always working towards something in order to maintain their masculinity. It also suggests that a man's character is defined by his achievements. And then in this next ad, this one right here, the one that's in black and white, two men are playing basketball. So here it says, go home a sore winner. So I feel that this dismisses pain as well as emotional discomfort by framing it as weakness. The typical phrase that people usually say is sore loser, but I guess upon buying this cream, which is a pain reliever, you can go home a winner and have victory. It also says play to win. So I would say that this suggests that a man's effort is only valued if it leads to victory. So overall, this ad is pushing the idea that showing signs of weakness is going to diminish one's masculinity. And then lastly, for this one right here, so essentially in this photo, it's just a small boy that's playing with his food. Some of the things that I want to go over was that usually this is not typical for, I guess, young girls and women's ads, as we are kind of depicted as eating in a nicer way or more clean, and then boys are able to, I guess, play with their food as what's happening in this picture. And then I wanted to also say that this is like a construction site. So by him playing with his food, he's being innovative or he's being creative. And as a comparison to ads with younger children, it's always girls like either with cooking tools or maybe even just cooking tools and playing with children, which kind of reflect that domestic work that is standardized for women. So the next theme that I'm going to be going over is going to be Lewington's forged physique, which again appeared 26.6%. So they across all of these ads, they feature muscular men having tattoos. Specifically, this one has an animal. They all imply, strength or wildness, and I guess that alpha narrative. So across these ads, words like strength, muscle, and power are repeatedly used. And then all of these ads, they use language that is, performance-based. And then in this particular ad, this one here, they included a celebrity. So it's essentially saying that by drinking drinking or eating milk product, you can transform yourself or become the athlete that Klay Thompson has become. And then moving on to Lewington's other theme, so heterosexual prowess. So he explains that under this theme, success is measured through sexual desirability as well as the ability to attract women. So in alignment with Lewington's theme, so this ad essentially validates the idea that male heterosexuality is a form of power. And then I did also want to mention, the coloring of this ad. It is in black and white, so it does accentuate kind of, the shadows of his face or darkening areas to be more sharp. And then he also is doing kind of like a stare through his eyebrows, which again kind of displays that the power and the typical characteristics that are associated with men, and just overall enhancing the masculine appearance. And then lastly, I'm going to be talking about primal attributes. So in these ads, we have the word tear, and then we have the word giant. And then in this one in particular, there's actually a physical grizzly bear. So these patterns are emphasizing strength, power, that again is also typically associated with men. And then I didn't mention it before, but two of these ads are kind of like in an outdoorsy area as compared to the women's ads where they're mostly located in the home. So that's also something that I wanted to mention. So thank you guys for listening to my presentation.